You know, you'd think by now, after like over 3 years on YouTube, I understand when we commit to a show, just what exactly I'm fully getting into. After Harley Quinn season 5, episode 5, I'm really starting to rethink this series as a whole. Let's talk about it. All right, guys, right here back with you. Variants cover all things Marvel, DC, Lord of the Rings, anime, gaming, Star Wars, and more. This time, Harley Quinn, season 5, episode 5, the big pasta dinner. And I gotta say, this episode, while having a few moments that are actually worth discussing, it just seems to be a big old miss. It literally seems like someone literally saw the Glass Onion or Knives Out, saw an episode of Scooby Doo, and decided, let's swap all these two together while also just being like, hey, you remember the Venom juice? Remember that from, all the comics involving Bane first and foremost, but also the Batman Arkham Asylum game. Let's just slap that into Alfred, make him like he's on some revengeful quest, and boom, we'll make a couple jokes about people just pleasuring themselves, and we have all-star content. You don't. I don't understand why you would spend as much money as you have animating this, creating this, curating this, and then being like, "Mwah, chef's kiss." No one can think there's anything wrong with the series. It's the best thing we've ever seen. It's the best thing we've ever done. Because it's most definitely not. And we know DC has got significantly higher standards. We saw Creature Commandos. We saw how good this company really can be when you have the right person writing. I'm staring at the writers, hopefully. Hopefully they understand that whoever wrote Harley Quinn, I put you in the same league as Leslie Headland from The Acolyte. You're both terrible. You should just quit. Stop doing what you're doing. This wasn't meant for you. There's other things to do in life, and just don't pick up a pen. It'll be good for you. But at the same time, let's talk about some of the things in this episode that you guys actually want to hear. Some of the actual episode breakdown as opposed to my opinion. Let's talk about why my opinion was formulated as this. This episode kicked off with Harley having a lot of pent up free time and a lot of pent up energy, aka she doesn't have a job and she's just kind of stuck in a nest with nothing to do other than to shop around for expensive shower heads. And well, we have to drive the point home that her and Ivy are very, very sexually promiscuous every 10 seconds, just in case you weren't tuning in for the right reason. Yeah, she's got a new shower head for stuff and things. We know what that is, but we're not going to talk about that too much. So she decides she's going to buy this whole new shower head, but then boom, ding dong, right at the door. Once again, King Shark's offspring, making more appearances than any character we've actually wanted to have in this series. Truth be told, this is 2 episodes now with baby sharks. I thought this show was going to be about Harley Quinn, not a shark family that you vaguely introduced us to, maybe last season or the season before. Didn't care about it then. Not sure why we care about it now. But the kid has once again come home because he has eaten the house cat. I don't know how they have a cat under the ocean. Catch my drift? Doesn't really make sense, especially if King Shark is now actually ruling. How do you get the cat there? I understand this is a universe where we have Aquaman and Batman and Superman and Brainiac and all this stuff. How'd you get the cat underwater, my guy? I just want to know. Asking for a friend. But anyway, he ends up hanging out there, and once again, Harley has a whole situation because the shark is completely out of control, and he ends up eating her new expensive shower head, which somehow causes the bathroom to flood and basically ruining the apartment. As Bruce is the one that, is the owner of the building, she calls him directly to try and skip a step between landlord and owner to try and get this fixed. Turns out he's like, hey, come to my big pasta dinner. We can get things fixed because you can talk to Alfred because he's the landlord. So they decided to go to Big Pasta Dinner. Big Pasta Dinner also consists of Robin, Lois Lane. We, of course, bring Frank along because why not? The kid is now on a leash. And we figure out that Robin just got dumped by Raven. So that's kind of sad for him. Bruce is supposed to have Lana showed up, but she was too busy doing probably something evil. So things went horribly awry for him as well. And of course, Joker shows up because his daughter is now part of the internship program for Wayne Tech. So now she's going to be part of the shenanigans of everything that is going on. Which, of course, I do love to say Joker has been one of the highlight characters of the series throughout. So the fact we pivoted so hard away from his storyline, that has kind of left a bad taste in my mouth because that was actually going somewhere. Joker being reformed and still becoming a positive member of society while still being a little twisted in the head and funny, I think was a nice spin on the character, even though we know that this is a spoof. So let's not take anything too seriously because, as we see later on, Harley has a huge outbreak with Alfred. Things don't turn out good. They're just arguing back and forth. Next thing you know, she goes, Alfred, I'm going to end you. She didn't use end, but we catch the drift for YouTube measurements. Alfred, next thing you know, is down on the ground, out and done. He's just covered in blood, and we think that there has been a murder mystery because there aren't enough of those movies going on right about now. And don't get me wrong, I do enjoy a good murder mystery. This isn't one of those. Turns out Batman thinks that Alfred's last name is Butler, which is a huge problem first and foremost. But also, Alfred kind of has a shtick apparently where he pretends to die every so often so that he can get attention and elicit sympathy from Batman because Batman's head is usually up his wrong end. Which, I mean, if you've read the comics, you understand. Dude needs therapy more than he needs to go out and fight crime. Sure, he's created, a lot more supervillains than anyone else, and sure, you can say what you will about Gotham being just this crime-ridden place. The education rate is absolutely phenomenal, and Batman hasn't actually necessarily stopped crime. He's just put a pin in it so we can circle back to it at a later moment. Think Elder Scrolls when they pushed the dragon about a couple hundred years or a couple thousand years into the future. This is basically all he's doing. He's just putting a pin in it, and we'll revisit it, so on and so forth. How many Punisher reoccurring villains are you aware of? Should answer your question about how to stop crime. But as everything plays out, Bruce doesn't believe anything that's going on. They all split up and search for clues. And turns out Bruce has got impeccable sauna, which will come back into play later. Him and Joker kind of have a schwitz, and they just kind of hang out and have a good time. And they're kind of getting to know each other. Robin's a little down in the dumps because he just got dumped. Bruce doesn't care about him all that much. So they've got a lot of issues to go on. And then next thing you know, the apartment's broken into, and we have the return of Nightwing. And he's out here trying to go out and off everybody because he is apparently a pawn in a greater scheme of Alfred's to go ahead and end Bruce, Harley, Joker, and Poison Ivy because those three have been thwarting everything Alfred's done because all Alfred's ever had to do is literally clean up after everybody. I would have been more mad about the toilet wine business going down because they stopped him from doing that. But that seems to be a whole nother question of entirety. So, of course, Alfred goes off the deep end, injects himself with the venom from Bane, and they figure out, hey, we need to make him sweat, or we need to be able to make him have some water because he's got an ankle monitor on. He is locked down because he, is still out on parole, so he's got that ankle bracelet to make sure he's locked in exactly where he should be. They eventually manage to make it happen. Turns out Robin gets a new girlfriend who happens to be Joker's daughter. That's going to be a fun family reunion for everybody because Joker wasn't responsible for a lot of stuff that happened. Jason Todd. Excuse me, pardon me. So there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff that comes to light because of that. But the series has continued to just be rather flat overall. It just seems to be at this point we're doing a cash grab for what we can. We need new writers and we need people to focus less on the fact that, hey, we have characters who are girls who are objectively attractive and they just want to talk about smutty stuff, and more on actually finding a spoof plot that actually makes sense. Think Kite Man, because you guys did that as well. We know you're capable of it. But I know what you're capable of is hitting that lovely red subscribe button. It's free and helps you find other great videos like this, as well as hitting that like button below. Both are entirely free. Help us out a ton. We appreciate when you go ahead and do so because you made it all the way to the video. Hope you can help us out. That being said, I'm Brent for Geek Variants. I'll see you in the next episode.